So Andor continues to be one of the best new Star Wars series right now. Episode 6 gets us to the meat and bones of the heist of the Imperial Payroll. Our Rebel team are fully going in now, but how does this have consequence for the rest of the Andor series? Additionally, we get some deep cuts in this episode through symbolism in some of the characters and their journeys in the series so far. Suffice it to say, Andor as a series is doing really well at the halfway mark now. We've got 6 more episodes following this one, and then that's it for season 1 of the Cassian Andor series. I'm entertained so far, but are you? If you're watching this, start typing your comment as I want to hear what you think from everyone. That means you, get typing. Spoiler warning, this review will discuss Andor episode 6 in full detail. Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. So episode 6 is titled The Eye, which refers to the Eye of Aldhani, the event which takes place in this episode and the one we've heard so much about up until now. Dan Gilroy, brother of showrunner Tony Gilroy, returns once again to write this episode, while Susanna Wright is the director. Now, before we get into this video, use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. So this episode was a stressful one, full of tension as we see our rebel cell carry out their heist, and as expected, it doesn't entirely go to plan. The plan goes along well to begin with only some small timing hiccups, with our crew blending in well as Imperials. However, the thing that sparks the plan going up is that they use unsecure comms, which are picked up by Kimsey, the communication officer. Apart from that though, the plan's not a bad one, taking hostages of the commandant of the base and his family. Though something which I found interesting was just how many similar gags our rebels had on them for their hostages. Perhaps they would stand an issue with their Imperial Army uniform, which would make sense, or it's just a good fashion choice. Another thing I find interesting about this episode is the visiting engineer. At first, I thought due to the significance they placed on the arrival on the last 2 episodes, he was going to be more important during the heist, whether it be a hindrance or a boon. However, the engineer allows the Commandant to give exposition about what happens on this day, and the Imperial plan for the Aldhani. One of the highlights of this and the previous episode is actually the shows the Empire slowly harassing the culture of the planet, or rather erasing the culture. In this case, the natives of the planet of Aldhani are slowly being erased by the Imperials. We even hear the Commandant joking to the visiting engineer about how they've purposely sabotaged the cultural ceremony, so there's out of their way in the future. The engineer also gives them insight into the Commandant and how we really shouldn't be rooting for him, going back to Cassian's quote about they've grown so fat, with his Imperial not even fitting into his own uniform. We also see him being very abusive toward his family, only caring about appearances and advancement in position and rank. What the Imperial engineer provides in terms of the heist though, he just holds up Nemik for a second and then gets shot by Sintra shortly after, which initially was why I was confused about his inclusion, but he did provide a lot to the story and was more of a story device rather than an actual interesting character. And though that may be the case, the rest of the characters we get a lot from this episode. Vel and Sintra's relationship, Tamarin's backstory, and even Sintra's one as well. It was shown in the StarWars.com database that Tamarin was previously a stormtrooper, but nice to hear it in this episode. The then to hear Sintra's whole family was killed by stormtroopers probably explains why she is so mission focused. However, at the end of the day, all these rebels died for their cause. Now that was expected, it definitely hurt. The show is following in Rogue One's footsteps of killing off nearly all our rebels in quick succession. I feel this did it more effectively, having the planned out beforehand probably helps. All of the deaths felt very unceremonious, however compared to Rogue One, very effective at just showing on how stacked the odds are against our rebels and they don't have the time to mourn one another, a luxury they cannot afford. And we aren't even comforted knowing their names will be remembered because they probably won't be. Tamarin and Gorn died by blaster fire, Nemik died from being crushed by the payroll they went to steal. Skeen died with Cassian shooting him for betraying them. With Nemik however, he does get to survive long enough to get to a doctor, but dies on the operating table. You know, this is sad. This scene was almost undercut for me by the simple fact that subtitles refer to our four-armed Riichi looking alien as Dr. Quadpaws, which is the most Star Wars name since Firm Scissor Punch. So Nemik's final wishes are for Cassian to have his manifesto, which could be the thing that helps turn Cassian over to the cause. Part of me wonders if this might work its way into the eventual Rebel Alliance manifesto and the New Republic, eventually. So all we have left are Cassian, Val and Sintra. In our trailers we have seen Val on Coruscant. Luckily she probably wasn't ID'd on Aldhani, so she should not break anyone's cover. Sintra on the other hand is in a bit more trouble. In the trailers we have seen footage of Sintra on Aldhani, looking up to the sky to see an Imperial Star Destroyer. Aldhani will be locked down while the Empire and the ISB uncover what happens, leaving Sintra with very few options, but definitely not impossible. One moment this episode really excels at is the TIE Fighters. We're so used to TIE fighters after decades of Star Wars, but we're not really afraid or concerned about them really. They are essentially the worst starfighter in the galaxy, and that's about it. However, Andor has been exceptionally good at making us fear TIE fighters. Take the last episode for example. The flyover in the valley actually makes you fear how menacing a TIE fighter can actually be. Now in this episode, we're treated to a chase sequence. TIE fighters leave the Aldhani airbase to pursue our escaping rebels. However, they don't get far. What we can take away from this episode is just how much detail when it comes to the interior of the cockpit as well, as well as the filming detail that went into highlighting this sequence. Combine this with the cinematic element of the eye event, and you've got a beautiful sequence that just stands out. While Andor and the rebels escape, the TIE pilots fall victim to the eye sequence as the fighter craft cannot withstand what is going on. We see cockpit windows smashed and pilots killed as their starfighters essentially come apart fully. Honestly, it's brutal when you think of it, but it's actually rather cool. After so many years, we get a return to the Senate building of Coruscant, and in Imperial fashion, it has become a house no longer filled with rancorous debate, but with silent indulgence. Mothma gives a speech about the Gorman people, and yet no one's really around to hear her, and we don't see them focusing on her. We see how many booths are unpowered and unmanned, and she can't even give a speech in full due to everyone's attention being on the Aldhani incident. Though, even if that didn't happen, not enough would actually hear the speech to actually make a difference for the Gorman people. We all know how this ends. This event keeps getting brought up more and more, and we know it will eventually connect to Mon Mothma leaving the Imperial Senate and openly declaring the Rebel Alliance. However, we haven't seen that part on screen. We only see the follow-up in Star Wars Rebels, which features the Ghost Crew having to save Mon Mothma from the Imperials chasing her. It would be great to see her actually resign from the Senate. This perhaps will take place on the latter half of the season, or maybe at the start of Season 2. The ending of this episode means more than you might think. We're seeing multiple characters' reactions to the events that have taken place on Aldhani. Word of a rebel attack has reached Coruscant. Now, what is important to remember here is that rebel attacks are not a big thing at this point in time. There is no official rebel alliance or combined effort as of yet. Yes, it's growing, but this event is a major victory for the rebels and one that appears to shake all our characters, especially those in the Imperial Security Bureau. Many of Mothma's scenes seem to be in contrast to that of our ISB point of view, from the warm white halls to their sterile white walls. But in this instance, the silence of the Senate Hall is contrast to the ISB round table meeting. All ISB officers and their staff are present to hear what has happened, and to stay late so they can come up with plans to deal with the incident. Now, on the other hand, we have Luthen's reaction. It's one of both fear and relief, I think. We see him initially concerned when a customer asks about a relic from Aldhani, thinking he might be busted by what is going on. However, he is relieved to hear that the mission was a success. Though, is it really a success? It may have dealt a crippling blow to the Empire, however, Luthen is unaware of events that have taken place with the rebel team. We've still got to wait and see if he actually gets the Imperial Payroll that is likely vital to the rebels. You know, I think my only conclusion with Andor in the moment is it feels like we're getting more momentum we cut off from the episode. The example in this episode is when reports of a big rebel attack reach Coruscant, specifically Luthen Rael, and he's very happy with this. You think this episode will then kick off the next big thing, but it just ends. Yes, it works well as an episode ends, but sometimes it feels like there could be more of that moment. Ultimately, this is the goal and what the series has done well. It delivers a quality episode, but still leaves you wanting more from it. Luckily with Andor, we've got time to treat episodes like this and spend more time exploring certain aspects. Though this might be what turns some off towards the series. Think about it. The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett had limited episodes, therefore they have to get to a point a lot quicker. Therefore certain aspects like character development for everyone is dropped in favour of the main story, which isn't a problem, but Andor has more time. Essentially Andor is currently doing super well. It's delivering a quality show while also leaving us wanting more from the characters and the overall storyline. I can't commend the detail of this show enough, even showing simple things such as the Imperial Commandant having a family. Meanwhile, aspects such as Lieutenant Gorn and Tamrin spent most of their lives in Imperial uniforms, then proceeded to die in them. The deep messages the show delivers are fantastic, if not kinda sad. We're at the halfway point for Andor as a series right now. As such, we're very much looking forward to the rest of the series and where it takes us in the Star Wars timeline. Okay, Exalted Ones, that's it on me. But what do you think of the latest Andor episode so far? Love it, hate it, or have strong opinions? Get commenting down below and let us know what you think right away. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well, but make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below, because if you're talking Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. Okay, that's it for myself. I've been Captain Jack today on Star Wars Now, and we'll see you next week for our next Andor review. May the Force be with you.